Welcome to NHADEC Lunchtime Connections. The purpose of this webinar is to introduce NHADEC members to one another and give each one the opportunity to tell us about their business and capabilities. My name is Sean Foote, and I will be your host today. I am the Supply Chain Manager at Transport, a NHADEC member, and a member of the Marketing Committee. The format of today's webinar is as follows. We have 3 presentations. Each presenter will have approximately 8 minutes to talk about their company. During the presentations, I will be in charge of advancing the slides forward, so please let me know by saying next slide. At the end of each presentation, there will be some time for Q&A. You can either ask a question of the presenter directly or type your question into the chat pane and I will pose it to them. To ask a question of the presenter directly, please raise your hand using the software interface and I will call on you. I will be monitoring time and keeping us on track. I may close Q&A if we're running long. Raise your hand in the webinar controls or use the chat pane if you have any questions for me during the webinar. Before we start, one housekeeping item. As this is lunchtime and I anticipate many of you will be eating lunch during the broadcast, please put yourself on mute. Now, I'd like to introduce Zanagi Ibrahim, President of New Hampshire Manufacturing Extension Partnership, or better known as MEP. Welcome, Zanagi.
Thank you, Sean, and thanks to the NHADEC marketing team for putting this session together and inviting me to be with you today.
Anytime.
Next slide. Next slide. New Hampshire MEP, it's the New Hampshire Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We're part of a national system of MEPs, as you see it on the map, and we are partially funded by the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the U.S. Department of Commerce. Next slide. We help manufacturers. We actually funded here in New Hampshire. New Hampshire MEP was funded in '86, and the purpose of the MEP system really is to help manufacturers in each of the states improve productivity so they can stay competitive and grow and keep jobs in the United States. How do we do that? We help manufacturers in product innovation, process innovation, and business model innovation. And I'll talk more about that later on. We have worked in New Hampshire with more than 600 manufacturers and trained over 7,360 employees in manufacturing. Next slide. Next slide. So these are our services. There's another slide before this one. These are our services. One of them is continuous improvement. We have manufacturers in lean manufacturing, strategy deployment, plant layout. They are related to lean manufacturing, lean product development, and we run Six Sigma programs. And a new program that we introduced a couple of years ago is called Business Growth Collaborative Program, along with the AS 9001 and ISO 9001 and AS 9100 collaborative program designed for small manufacturers in our state. Technology acceleration, we have a technology scouting, which is a NIST program. And this program basically, if a company in the United States is looking for a product, the NIST MEP sends it out to all the MEP centers to see if any manufacturers in the United States can make it. So that's the scouting. Basically, instead of doing it overseas, we prefer to see if our manufacturers in the U.S. can make them here. Technology-driven market intelligence, it's a new program that was launched by NIST MEP. And this program basically is not typically just market intelligence and research, but basically taking a look at the technology of manufacturers and then benchmarking and see how they can build on what they have in terms of technology to open up new markets or new market segments. Technology deployment is something that we're doing with UNH, the School of Engineering and Physical Sciences, and we're trying to deploy what they do to the SMEs in New Hampshire, more particularly, and having faculty help small and medium-sized manufacturers in the state to develop new products or redesign their products. Next slide. Workforce development. We're very busy this month, as you well know, with Manufacturing Month. Nationally, Manufacturing Day is the first Friday of October. It has been done since this is the 6th year. It was by the President of the United States, then Obama. All the 50 states participate in Manufacturing Day. During this month, we have students visiting manufacturers or neighboring manufacturers to learn about careers and internships in those industries, and hopefully to build a future skilled workforce in advanced manufacturing. It is very, very important. We're trying to build that pipeline. We're a small state, and the only way to do it is to build it from the bottom up. Lean leadership effectiveness training is designed for supervisors, those that have supervisory role in manufacturing, along with the team involvement problem solving. Job instruction is designed for those who do training for other employees or their colleagues. Career Pathways is a program that we partner with the Department of Education to see how we can put together some career pathways for students before they graduate from high school. At least they know really what they want to do instead of going to college and not knowing what really they want to do. So we want to put together some type of pathways for them for their careers, whether it's in manufacturing or any other industry. The Manufacturing Month, I should say that it is a partnership effort with the Department of Business and Economic Affairs, BIA, New Hampshire BIA, New Hampshire High-Tech Council, and many other economic development agencies and department and chambers of commerce. A lot of different organizations help in this whole effort. Really, it's not just New Hampshire MEP. We coordinate it, but we have help from all the partners. We introduced in the supplier development, we introduced a new program as of last year, and this program here is Cybersecurity Services, which is basically it's a program that is designed to help the manufacturers implement 171 standard. We do have some funding for that for those that want to do the cybersecurity implementation. Lean Supply Chain is a training program that we have, and Make It in America is a national program under the National Institute of Standard Technology. Green and sustainability, we do, as you see it, with green energy, helping manufacturers cut down on energy costs. Next one. So these are the numbers of last year's. We are halfway through October this year. 40 high schools and cities send their kids to manufacturers and 6 middle schools. We're going down now the ladder, and community colleges also participated in it. And we had 1,850 visits from students to manufacturers. That's amazing. So this year maybe more than that. We'll see. Next. New Hampshire MEP ask all of our clients to help us with the survey. Because we're partially funded, we want to make sure that we're making an impact on the bottom line and the top line of our clients. And this is what they have reported from September 17 to September 18 in terms of creating jobs or retaining jobs, increased or retained sales, new sales, and new investments, and especially cost savings, which is very key. What you see in the bottom there is basically an economic analysis and projecting the overall impact in the region and the state. I thank you for the opportunity, and have a good day.
Well, thank you, Zanagi. That was very interesting. We actually had a question typed in while you were presenting, and that is, when is the Governor's Advanced Manufacturing and a High Technology Summit, and who would be people that should attend that summit?
The summit is scheduled on November 2nd, and we have, just quickly, we have a keynote. The keynote will be talking about Manufacturing 4.0. This is the future of manufacturing. It's going to be all very high tech, sensors talking to sensors and robots talking to robots as we move forward in the next millennium, really. But those that need to be there are engineers, as decision makers from manufacturing, and we have a couple of sessions there on retaining, how to retain employees. We manufacturers, as well as other sectors of the economy, they're all looking for the next generation skilled workforce from the next generation. But the problem is some of them are losing their employees to others. One is taking the others, the neighbors' employees, and that we need to build the future pipeline. So we have a session in the summit that will cover. We have 4 manufacturers talking about how they retain their employees, not how they recruit. Everybody's trying to recruit, as you all know, but how do they retain first? You need to retain what you have before thinking of what you're going to get. So we're going to be talking about that. So there are quite a few human resources specialists and decision makers in HR that will be attending from manufacturing as well. There's a session on resources of the state, and that will be presented by the Department of Business and Economic Affairs. So it's kind of a diverse crowd that needs to be there, Sean. It all depends on what you're looking for.
Excellent. Well, that was great information, and I'll mark that on the calendar. Well, if anyone has any information or any questions for Zanagy about MEP or this summit, feel free to call him or email him directly on his email. Thank you very much, Zanagy. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Brian Ward, Director of Business Development for Sensors and Controls for Jewell Instruments. Welcome, Brian.
Welcome. Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to share Jewell Instruments and what we do and our capabilities.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing more about it.
Next slide. Okay, Jewell Instruments is located in Manchester, New Hampshire, on 850 Perimeter Road, right near the regional airport. Matter of fact, one of the runways runs right parallel with one of our parking lots in the back. So it's very easy and easy to get to. Well, Jewell is been around an awful long time. We're broken into 3 different distinct product groups: Sensors and Controls, Meters and Avionics, and our Triplet Test and Measurement and Tools group. We're relatively good size. We have a 30,000 square foot facility, and we also have a facility down in Barbados. Next slide, please. And so we're broken up into Sensors and Controls, which is what I'm going to talk to today. I'm responsible for this group as well as the Meters and Avionics, but we are distinctly broken into 2 different separate groups. We call our precision accelerometers and our precision incolometers. And we're going to talk about the precision accelerometers. We are very, very high-end, very precision type of accelerometers. We're very low-end in the inertial side, which means 0.25 Gs up to about 40 Gs is relatively very, very low speeds. To give you an example, a metro train and down in a typical city uses 0.18 plus or minus 0.18 Gs of actual force to the passengers. That gives you the idea of the very low inertial measurements that our products are used in. We're widespread in technologies. We've just recently introduced the capacitive MEMS side of the business, different product lines, and we'll get into a little bit about the advantages and force balance, which is our legacy side of the business, and then our quartz flexure, which is another force balance technology used in high temperature, 180 degrees C type of temperature range for a lot of the downhole oil and gas applications. So we kind of have a very wide range. We do linear as well as angular. We're one of the only manufacturers that do angular accelerometers, where it takes the rotation and the actual inertial measurements on a rotation. We're very high resolution, very low high accuracy type of parts, and we're a lot of testing in the aerospace industry, as well as we're in aircraft, in rotary as well as rotary aircraft, as well as fixed wing, and we're in weapon control targeting systems and missile guidance systems as well. Next slide. Our precision incolometers is, again, a very high-end type of products. We go from anywhere from very, very low measurement angles to up to 90-degree angles and very high resolution and high accuracies. It's basically tilt, if you can think of an angle and tilt, almost like a carpenter's level. Well, we do very high precision electronic versions of that. Again, we've introduced capacitive MEMS devices as some of our newer technology. We also have some very force balance, and as well as we call electrolytic type of sensing technology, which is very seismic, very low speed, almost kind of static type of applications for geophysical and geotechnical type of applications. For the purposes of this presentation being more oriented towards aerospace and defense, we're in a lot of portable radar, a lot of radar platforms, utilized again a lot of aerospace testing in the space level testing. We've for sure involved in another market of ours is in the rail transportation, where we do a lot of the acceleration for control systems as well as a lot of train testing type of applications as well. We're in the roller path calibrations, and but a lot of the platform, a lot of the gun calibrations on marine and Navy, where they calibrate the guns and so on, they utilize our devices for a lot of that kind of calibration as well. Next slide. So some of the new products that we introduced are pretty cutting edge for Jewell instruments. We've just recently introduced electronic compasses for a lot of dead reckoning type of positioning. We use for a lot of mictometers, 3-axis mictometers with a combination of tilt sensors, as well as we go all the way out to one of our products as a 9-dot Designs of Freedom type of product, where there's 3-axis mictometer, 3-axis accelerometers, and 3-axis gyros. We have GDI as well, where the JDI is a MEMS device that's temperature compensated, so for the full complete inclination range, we do all through the full temperature range, so that the product performs at its max in all the different temperature ranges. And then our EDXI 100 is our Ethernet, first Ethernet product coming out for the Ethernet of things. You've probably heard a lot of that discussion in the marketplace. We have a slew of products coming out. This is the first one we came out with. We're very, very custom type of house. We're application specific solutions house. So our customers come to us. We typically will take our products and modify them to their particular application for their use and to customize to their type of thing. I have a list of things here that could be used as reference, and as well as on our website. You can go on, but we can pretty much customize anything we like to do as we go forward. So it's one of the things that I think that brings and stands us out differently between our competitors is not only our custom capabilities, but a lot of testing capabilities and customizing temperature ranges. We do different type of temperature ranges as we go forward. And so we kind of, I guess, if you will, we find out what exactly they need. We kind of spec in the right technology. Then we talk about the right package and mechanical packaging. Then we talk about also some of the different electrical specifications. And we then kind of customize to each of those solutions. Next slide. And the last slide I have here is to kind of give you a little bit of feeling that we have a lot of different selector guides on our website, all electronically downloadable. Matter of fact, the complete inertial product catalog is not even in print. It's just electronic on our website. And it's very innovative in the sense that it's intuitive. You can go through the actual catalog and you can clip, and it has all the different links going through, has all our data sheets completely in there for the individual different part numbers. And you can certainly kind of guide through that catalog. And we have one for inertial, and we have another one for our geophysical, geotechnical products. On the selector guides, we kind of, again, it's a very quick guide. You can open it up. You can have comparison of specifications, and it's kind of a basic guide to get you to the basic model number, and then we can then take you from there and find out exactly your application and kind of customize to those fits. So it's kind of a nice range. We're kind of expanding, as if you will, in the technology. Mostly in the MEMS side is a little bit of our technology roadmap going forward, and a lot of different products going forward with a 6-DOF and the 9-DOF type of IMUs. And that's a quick summary of our capabilities. I really appreciate the opportunity to share some of that with you, but please, call me or email me. I'm certainly be happy to be able to talk to you about your particular application and come up with a solution for your company. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. We actually had a question come in from one of the attendees. Can you explain with a little bit more detail about your MEMS technology-based products?
Absolutely. Basically, Jewell about 3 years ago started developing their product into the MEMS. The MEMS technology has been in the marketplace for some time, but what we saw the opportunity is taking the MEMS products and actually basically testing and calibrating the product into very precision devices. And so one of the key drivers on that is, of course, cost. It's a lower cost technology. We're able to also size-wise make it even a smaller product and miniaturization. And we're able now to utilize some of our testing capabilities and stage and really make a very, very precision and precise product out of it.
Wow. Well, thank you, Brian. I'm sure that answered the attendee's question. Like Brian mentioned, if you have any more questions for him, please feel free to reach out to his contact information that's presented on his slide right here. And thanks again for joining us, Brian.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You as well. Now I'd like to introduce Don Wivel, Executive Director of NHADEC, who is joined by Lee Baxter, who is part of the NHADEC Strategic Planning Committee. Welcome, Don and Lee.
Hi, Sean. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I do want to thank you and Stephanie for being such amazing supporters of NHADEC and pulling this product that we offer together, and great directors of the organization, and just want to do a shout out to both of you.
Well, we appreciate that. Let's hear a little bit more about this NHADEC sales pipeline.
Okay. So as most of you know, NHADEC has been in operation now for about 5.5 years. Over the past year, and together with our members, we went through a strategic visioning process. That process led us to a couple of major changes in the organization. One change is that we have now officially opened our membership to members from outside of New Hampshire, with a particular eye to becoming a regional hub. And the second major change was moving from being strictly what one would call a promotional consortium to being both a promotional and a sales consortium, and basing our focus on developing sales opportunities for our members on both foreign and domestic sales, even though the name of our company or our organization has the word export in it. We are now focused on global opportunities, which includes domestic. So this new sales service and focus is what we are talking about today. So I'm going to pass the next slide on to the next part of the conversation on to Lee Baxter, and I also want to do a shout out to Lee. He's a member of NHADEC and sits on the strategic committee and has put a huge amount of work into helping us to develop as a member this process and this criteria that he is now going to talk about. Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Dawn, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. So I'm going to talk briefly about the opportunity criteria and how we got to this point, and then Don's going to follow up afterwards with a little bit more on the process. So, behind all this is, the whole idea here is to show that this supports our strategic initiative, and that is to build a sales focus and capability for NHADEC, as Don mentioned. So this slide highlights the broad criteria that the board will use to evaluate potential opportunities, with a preference towards those pipelines and opportunities that first maximize sales, secondly have lower barriers to entry and easier access and implementation, will serve the most members of NHADEC, and are actionable within the next 18 months. There's also the last piece of it, which is one on risk, and we want to make sure that we obviously manage the risk aspect of that as well. So each member is also encouraged to weigh each opportunity against their own internal criteria before making a commitment to participate. So this isn't supposed to be exclusive and the only thing we're looking at, but this is a broad brush of what the NHADEC board will look at as we evaluate every opportunity going forward before it's presented, and then each member, of course, can come back and adjust it against their own criteria. So while country XYZ is a great great market, there are other examples that might be an industry where we may want to go. So it could be a sub-industry within a market, such as radars, for example, in Poland, or even opportunities here within the United States, as Don alluded to. And also in the spirit of fostering more collaboration between NHADEC members, and also one of the goals of this initiative, we hope that you'll feel free to share and let the board and Don know if you hear of any opportunities that may be applicable here and relevant for the broader membership. So just to quickly step through each of the criteria, the addressable market size is self-explanatory. So we're trying to drive and look for those opportunities that are going to have the biggest opportunity for the most members. And then the second piece is the ease of access and implementation piece, which is really about looking at those things where we may have some extra, things that we can leverage from a political standpoint, such as connections or logistics, or close into to New Hampshire that we already have maybe some ways we can quickly get to and access. Numbers of members impacted is going to be very important for us because we're looking for those things that are going to benefit the broadest membership. It doesn't mean that we'll have to reach everyone, but we do give preference to those opportunities that would address 5 or more members, with ideally less going for 7+ members being impacted. And then the timeline of identified market needs, really there's a preference of going towards things that could be more immediate. So defense budgets change, priorities change. We're looking for those things that we can leverage our limited resources most quickly to drive the most benefit for the membership. And then lastly is we have to keep an eye out on risk given the current geopolitical activities and what's happening in the world, both to make sure that we try to safeguard and prevent risk or minimize risk for the members as well as for NHADEC as a whole. So I hope that that's helpful, and happy to entertain any additional questions on it. But I'll pass this off to Dawn now, and she can take us through the process and some more exciting things that are pending for the members of NHADEC.
Okay, thanks, Lee. And Sean, if you could go to the next slide. So after we've gone through the evaluation and selection process that Lee laid out for potential market opportunities, we'll then take a particular opportunity that we've identified and hold a special meeting with the membership to achieve several things that, as laid out in the slide. We want to ensure that we have enough interest on the part of the membership, obviously. So we will, at this meeting or this gathering, we will review our determination of the opportunity, and in other words, how we determine that this was a good opportunity. We'll review the market itself, the sales potential, the requirements that may be particular to that market, export controls and that kind of thing. What kind of marketing assistance we can bring to bear, could be participation in a trade show or a very particular kind of support that we can offer based on the market. How this will work in terms of logistics and management on our part, who exactly will be representing NHADEC and the members in the market, and of course what each member who might sign on to a particular opportunity has to commit to in order to participate. So at that point, once we have enough buy-in from the membership, we will orchestrate for each individual member who is signed on, direct communication with the market representative in question so that he or she can get to know each individual company and vice versa. And NHADEC will always be behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, managing the overall relationship and assisting with the market itself at all times. So we're about ready to launch our first initiative, and so if we can go to the next slide. What we're referring from henceforth, we're going to be calling these initiatives or these opportunities sales pipelines. Because what we're doing is developing very unique sales pipelines into specific markets. So it may be a particular country, or as Lee mentioned, it may be a very specific opportunity within a market. So we're launching the very first as we speak, and we're calling this the Irish Defense Forces and State Pipeline. I've got to come up with an easier name, maybe just the Irish Pipeline. The launch will take place on November 1st at the Portsmouth Public Library at 9:30 a.m. And what this is a very particular opportunity as a direct pipeline specifically to the Irish Defense Forces and to other entities that are state-owned, like the Coast Guard, law enforcement, Customs and Revenue, Immigration Services, and so forth. And it's interesting because the Irish Defense Forces, they're going to be responsible for a lot more than they currently are in terms of the European Union once Brexit happens. But they're very pleased to have direct access to an organized group like NHADEC that can offer a variety of U.S.-made products in the aerospace and defense and security sector. And, an organization in America where they want to source their products that they can just reach out to and say, this is our need and this is what we're looking for, and then we shop that out to the members. And or we can get new members on board if they offer what this particular pipeline needs. We haven't even officially launched this yet, and they've already reached out to us with a really interesting need before we've even gotten started. So that's pretty exciting. So to put this in practical context, as I said, we're launching this initiative on the 1st of November. We have talked about it in the past at member meetings, but this meeting will take place in Portsmouth at the library November 1st at 9:30 a.m. And we'll be Skyping in our representative in Ireland so that he can present you with the opportunities, the specific pipeline that he has orchestrated with the Irish Defense Forces and, the other services that were listed. And you can ask him questions, and he can get to know all of you, and we will just get this new service started with that. So I'll be sending out a notice in the next day or two so that people can register, and I really hope that everyone can join us. So I think that's all for me.
Well, thank you, Dawn and Lee. If anyone has questions for either of them, you can contact them either via email or call them directly with their contact information right there. We actually did have someone type in a question, so let me read that off to you. If my company participates in the Irish Pipeline, what are obligations and how much support is needed?
So your obligation will be to actually sign an agreement. We will have agreements created for each pipeline that will be between the member and the representative that runs the pipeline in said market. So you'll sign an agreement that will be fairly simple, but it will lay out the specific commission, because there will be a commission involved, a success-based commission, and exclusivity of that territory, and barring any exceptions that you want to put on the agreement at the time that you sign it. And then you will be obligated, obviously, to educate the representative on your product or service and provide whatever marketing materials that you think are appropriate, and any marketing support that you both agree upon. But you have to develop a relationship directly with the marketing representative so that he or she can represent you adequately. And also, NHADEC will be putting together a digital brochure of all the members as as we move forward on these sales pipelines. So you'll sort of be obligated to provide us with digital content. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, excellent. And I think we have time for one more question. Yes, we do. Someone asked, if we have a representative in Ireland, can we still participate in the NHADEC pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that there will be some people who have, for instance, in this case, an EU representative, or maybe someone in the UK that also touches on Ireland. And so that's obviously going to happen with all these pipelines. So basically, it'll be up to you to discuss, the ramifications with your representative or your current sales agent and how you want to handle that, to do maybe a set-aside specifically for the Irish Defence Forces. But these are details that, are up to you to work out with your representative. But we can, sort of discuss options with each member separately or individually.
Well, I think that's all we had for questions. Well, Don and Lee, thank you so much for your time and presenting on the sales pipeline that NHADEC is putting together. Again, if anyone has questions for the two of them, please feel free to contact them. And let's move on to the next slide. So thank you so much to all of our presenters as well as our audience and attendees. I sincerely appreciate your time and attention. If you would like to refer to this presentation or share it with someone you think would be interested in the video of today's episode, will be posted on YouTube and on the NHADEC blog. And if you're an attendee today and are interested in being a presenter at an upcoming episode, please send me an email. Thank you for joining, and I hope everyone has a lovely day.